Next. And I was marking some of the locations. There's a mark on here somewhere. Right here. There's one of the locations, one of the reports. Next slide. These are some of the others. I didn't mark every one of them, but I marked the important ones in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Next slide, please. This is the first known civilian photograph of a UFO. Next slide. This is a letter, the Gerald Light letter. This letter is absolutely astounding. It confirms everything that I've been saying. Nobody knew that this letter even existed until Bob Exler presented it at the 1989 MUFON Symposium in Las Vegas. He presented this on July the 1st. I had already issued my information that this confirms on May the 23rd of the same year. In here, he says, "My dear friend, I've just returned from Muroc." Remember I told you Muroc is Edwards Air Force Base now. "The report is true, devastatingly true. I made the journey in company with Franklin Allen of the Hearst Papers and Edwin Norris of Brookings Institute, Truman's erstwhile financial advisor, and Bishop McIntyre of LA. Confidential names for the present, please. When we were allowed to enter the restricted section after about 6 hours, in which we were checked on every possible item, event, incident, and aspect of our personal and public lives, I had the distinct feeling that the world had come to an end with fantastic realism. For I have never seen so many human beings in a state of complete collapse and confusion as they realized that their own world had indeed ended with such finality as to beggar description." Can you get the sense of what this guy had gone through? The reality of other plane aeroforms is now and forever removed from the realms of speculation and made a rather painful part of the consciousness of every responsible scientific and political group. During my 2 days visit, I saw 5 separate and distinct types of aircraft being studied and handled by our Air Force officials with the assistance and permission of the Etherians. Notice he calls them Etherians, which means that he attaches some spiritual significance to them. And notice also that he capitalizes Etherians, signifying that he may have viewed them as gods. I have no words to express my reactions. It has finally happened. It is now a matter of history. President Eisenhower, as you may already know, was spirited over to Muroc one night during his visit to Palm Springs recently. And it is my conviction that he will ignore the terrible conflict between the various authorities and go directly to the public via radio and television if the impasse continues much longer. Well, we know that he didn't do that. And it goes on. We don't have time to read it all. It's in my book in the appendix. Those of you who get the book, you can read it at your leisure. Next. This is the second page. Next. This is Bishop McIntyre. Next. There's old Ike. Remember the slogan, "We like Ike"? Ike started this crap. Next. There he is again. Remember what Ike said to us when he left office? Does anybody remember that? He tried to warn the American people against a group, a powerful group within the defense industrial complex, which might seize unwarranted power and destroy this country. And nobody listened to him. Next. I think he would have said a lot more, but he didn't want to die. Was this one of the little guys he met? Or is this for our entertainment? Next. Is this one of the little guys? Now, this is a very well-known photo that's been leaked out to the public. It's been thoroughly debunked by everybody in the world, but it's never been proven false. Never been proven to be a fraud. Nobody knows where it came from. Now, I hope you all know what debunked means. Let me show you what debunked means. What's your name, ma'am? No, it's not. What's your name? No, it's not. What's your name? No, it's not. That's what debunked means. Next slide. administered by a corporation which at that time was not the MITRE Corporation, but is the MITRE Corporation now. I talked about that all over the country. People said, "You're crazy." Well, I found reference to them in the Pentagon papers that were leaked by Daniel Ellsberg. And in the Pentagon papers, it said that the Jason Group had invented and come up with the electronic barrier that was placed across the DMZ of Vietnam to detect and prevent the North Vietnamese regulars from coming across the border. I was there on the DMZ. It didn't work, so they're not as smart as they think they are. But they do exist. Some people submitted Freedom of Information Act requests and actually got the truth out of the Pentagon. The first official acknowledgement that they exist. We submitted one and got it, but what I'm going to show you is not what I got, because people always doubt what I get, so I'm going to show you what somebody else got. Richard Whitmire of the Gannett News Service published this in the Olympian in Washington, and this is what he found. Next slide. He found that these guys are incredible. They have the highest security clearances in the nation. There are several Nobel Prize winners in the group. They hold the protocol rank of Rear Admiral, which is 2 stars whenever they visit any military installation, ship, airplane, Air Force base, or government facility. They are paid $500 a day consulting fee, and they are literally some of the best brains in this country. Next slide. Next. And these are some of the lists. These are some of them. There is only one woman among them. Her name is Claire Max. Let me see if I can find her. I think she's on the next slide. There she is, Claire E. Max. Institute of Geophysics and Planetary Physics, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. What do they need with a planetary physicist in a government consulting group? Next. Next. I always try to point out what's happening with women because I'm very sensitive to women's needs nowadays. I think, really, truthfully, if the world were run by women, we wouldn't be in this situation. Next. This is Bob Exlert's idea of what the cover-up structure looks like. He believes wholeheartedly that to have a cover-up of this kind, involving this kind of technology, you would have to have full support from what we call corporate America. Now, this would be very easy in this country because who is corporate America? It's literally the Council on Foreign Relations. And I'm going to show you later that not only is this possible, it's probably absolutely right on. Next. Next, we've already looked at this. This is a piece of film that was sent to Leonard Stringfield, who is another researcher, who, the person who sent this film said that this was an alien extraterrestrial body recovered from a craft that had been burnt. I've looked at this at every angle that I possibly can think of, and I can't tell what in the world it is, except that you can sort of get a sense that it's probably biological something. Next. This was also sent to Leonard Stringfield, and the same thing was purported to be said. They said that this was the burned body of a crashed extraterrestrial being from a crashed spaceship. And this one is a fraud. Because right here, under the body, is a pair of Air Force flight glasses. I've seen enough of those in my life to know exactly what they are. Next. This is an official U.S. The newsreels captured it. We went down to watch Roy Rogers on Saturday morning, and they showed us this thing hopping around the flight line in front of a bunch of reporters in bleachers, and it never went anywhere. It just sort of hopped around, and the pilot had this incredible, terrified look on his face. Next slide. This is a photograph taken at a junkyard at I believe it was White Sands test range. Nobody knows what it is. Looks like a mad welder went wild. Next. This is a photograph. It's supposed to be able to learn how well parachutes of different designs work with this thing. Is that true? I don't know. Next. This is another one. We couldn't figure out what this is used for. We compared the shape and the size of this to the known nose cowlings of large aircraft, and we haven't been able to find anything that it fits. But there's a lot of experimental aircraft that you never get to see, so that doesn't mean anything really. Next. These are photographs of 3 UFOs, or actually 4. One's almost out of the photograph up there, over a power plant. They seem to really like power plants. They're seen a lot, especially around nuclear power plants. If my theory about the cattle mutilations is correct, that might explain it. Next slide. February 27th, 1951. Isn't Lassie beautiful? Next slide. This advertisement was in this magazine. Flying mobile camper of the future may be electric powered, plugging into any electric outlet for recharging. Now this is during the period of time when people like Herman Oberth, the world-renowned rocket scientist who was the teacher to Dr. von Braun, was saying that we couldn't take credit for all the technology that we've developed in the last decade. And when the reporter asked Dr. Oberth, what do you mean? What other nations helped us? He said, it wasn't another nation, son. It was those little guys from out there. The security people grabbed him and hustled him right out of the press conference. That was at his retirement. It was also the same period of time when William P. Lear, John Lear's father, said on a television talk show, when asked what he could see for the future, he said, you will be able to get into a phone booth in Los Angeles and step out in New York City. And he wasn't joking, and the audience laughed at this man. This was one of the bigwigs in the defense industrial complex who knew exactly what was being researched in our laboratories at that time. Next slide. And also in this magazine, this scientist, Richard Wilson, exposes flying saucers. He says what they've been saying for day one, they're weather balloons. Next slide. Albert Einstein. If, in fact, extraterrestrials were real and we had recovered that technology, I'm sure that Albert Einstein would have known about it, would have been in on it in one way or another. Next slide. And he may have known about things like this, the proceedings of the Lunar and Planetary Exploration Colloquium. May 13th, 1958. Look at that date because it's very significant when you look at what's in this book. And I'm going to show you a few pages. I've got this book at home. I can guard it carefully because it's the only copy that's ever been able to be located, and I've got it. Introduction to the Initiating Group, Scientific Aspects of the Lunar Surface. How did they find that out? The physical characteristics of the lunar surface. The geological aspects of the interior of the moon. Evolution and nature of the lunar atmosphere. Didn't someone tell us that there was no lunar atmosphere?